just crossed over into the Logan Zone. From ECU Pirate football to the whole college landscape to basically anything else that's on his mind, Coach Steve Logan's talking about it now.
You don't coach at East Carolina. You don't come to East Carolina. You don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart.
Tweet at Steve Logan Show with your takes or call 252-561-GAME for your spot in the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. Now, here's Steve Logan.
Welcome in. Week 11 of the Logan Zone. Hard to believe. It's already the 11th time we will be joining you on the Logan Zone here in the 2025-2026 football season as the Pirates get ready for their 9th contest of the season. We are going to talk about that 9th contest of the year with a guy who lives in Charlotte. He's not a Charlotte fan. Jim Szoke, voice of the East Carolina Pirates. He's actually a Bowling Green fan. That's where he went to school. We're also going to talk little Panthers with him, and then that'll be at 5:20, and then at 6:15 we are going to look at the interesting situation that is going on over at North Carolina State with Matt Chazanow. During any time between those and then after Chaz, we will be taking your calls at 252-561-4263. And now we are going to welcome in the host of the Logan Zone, Coach Logan. How's it going, Coach?
Doing good. Coming at you from Pine Knoll Shores, America, and beautiful day out today. So I'll tell you what, I want to jump right into this thing, and as usual, Philip, I want you to give everybody a little taste of what's going on in Greenville, America, and this contest that's coming up. I want to touch on it. I don't want to dwell on it. It's this. Quite honestly, on paper, this is going to be one of the worst football teams that East Carolina's played in a while. And that's always dangerous. And I don't mean to minimize, every victory is important. But after we spend some time on the East Carolina thing, I want to take our audience into, the current hiring and firing cycle of this year is absolutely, hiring and firing coaches is a sport. And it's entertainment for college football fans. And I want to take everybody down. I got some real interesting issues that give everybody something to think about when it comes time to hire and fire a football coach, which that's the kind of season we're in right now. But back to the East Carolina Charlotte contest that's coming up. We all know that Charlotte has been a strange thorn in the side of East Carolina. And by strange, I mean, nobody thought that Charlotte should ever beat East Carolina, and I don't guess, come to find out, Philip, East Carolina's ever beaten Charlotte in a football game. Is that true?
Yeah, unfortunately, Coach, we're 0-2.
Well, that doesn't sit well with the boosters, and we all know how that goes. But there was some talk, and I want you to comment on this. I've made the comment before that when a football team gets off the bus, you should have an offensive game plan. And the offensive coordinator is responsible for that. You got a defensive game plan responsible by the defensive coordinator. And you've got a special teams coordinator that is responsible for having a special teams game plan. And guess what? There's a fourth game plan that it almost trumps all of those game plans that's necessary when you get off the bus. And that is an emotional game plan. And that is the job of the head coach. And having said that, I'll set the plate for you. And there was something mentioned early this morning when I did a little spot with Henry Hinton on his morning show. Something Blake Harrell may have done early on, or maybe even beginning all the way back to last year, relative to getting this team ready to play this particular game.
Oh, this one in particular.
So
I'm trying to remember what. I know there's the new helmet that came out, but that's not a Blake Harrell thing from the '91 Peach Bowl.
Right. It was mentioned that you have a countdown board.
Yes, I had seen that. I wasn't 100% sure, but I don't know if that was that just a countdown to kickoff kind of thing.
Well, all coaches have a countdown to kickoff usually in the strength and conditioning room. It's 4 days and 68, 6 hours and 68, 30 minutes, whatever, to kickoff. It's just an awareness little deal. A lot of coaches do that. But word got back to me possibly that they had a countdown board somewhere relative to this particular football game this year, which, if that's true, that's really good coaching, particularly in the environment that East Carolina finds himself in, which is a heavy, heavy favorite, which East Carolina traditionally never wears that mantle well.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think I do remember. I want to say this might have started back in August. They had a countdown to the first game, and then they went ahead and put up the countdown to this guy. It is kind of ringing a bell coming back to me now, Coach. And, it's interesting you bring that up because that is the vibe in Greenville. Normally you ask me about the vibe check, and I come on there and I tell you how the Pirate fans feel after last week and what last week's game meant. Well, I don't think that most Pirate fans remember what happened last week. I don't think it could have mattered if we won by 100 or lost by 100 or won by 31 like they did. People are ready to kick the ever-loving mess out of Charlotte, I think is what it comes down to at this point. It is homecoming weekend. It is Hall of Fame weekend. You have Shane Carden, Justin Hardy, and is it Dwayne Harris going into the Dwayne Harris going into the Hall of Fame on Friday night. So you have 3 legendary Pirate football players going in. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of letter winners in attendance. There's a few NFL guys who are currently in the NFL. They either play tonight or on a bye week or something where it sounds like they're going to be able to be here. And I think people are just full speed ahead, ready to indict pain. And people really do. The vibe around town is they do not want Blake Harrell to let up. They want to challenge the 1916 Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, coached by John Heisman's 222 points on Cumberland College. That is what they want. That's what we're chasing right now. We're chasing 223. That is the mindset of the Pirate Nation.
Well, I'm glad I'm not coaching this football game, as a matter of fact, because I mentioned this morning, somebody asked me how I might feel about coaching this football game, and I would be absolutely nauseous because I understand what 18 to 22-year-old football players are capable as far as disconnecting and not focusing, staying focused. And I gave one little war story when I was at East Carolina. The normal fare, the normal Saturday afternoon, and I'm not exaggerating by much here, would have been preparing for Syracuse, West Virginia, Miami, Virginia Tech, South Carolina, a Tennessee or an Alabama or an Auburn, whatever the case may be. Those were the problems that we were presented with, and we were trying to solve those problems. And once every now and then, we would have a game where we were favored, and I remember in particular we were getting ready to play William and Mary. And William and Mary they were a good little 1AA football team, capable in every way of coming in and beating us at home. And I was absolutely sick to my stomach about the thought of it. And I remember that week, I did not let my position coaches show William and Mary film to our team. I handled the Tuesday and the Wednesday meetings. We didn't have position meetings those days, and I came in on Tuesday and Wednesday, and for about an hour and 10 to 15 minutes both days, I showed the East Carolina football team, my football team, game films of Citadel beating the University of North Carolina, or games like that I went back in the vault and found and pounded into our players the fact that you walk out there and blink and you're going to get beat and you're going to get embarrassed and it's going to be a blow up for the program, and on and on and on I went. I mean, I was a madman all week long. Late in the week, the position coaches did show our players some scheme type stuff that William and Mary, what they were doing on offense, what they were doing on defense, but I really didn't care about that. I cared about us coming out and blocking and tackling, running the football, throwing the football, and catching it. Don't turn the football over, and just go play the game properly. Well, you know, I'm almost sure that game started out, we were down 14-0 or 14-7 in the blink of an eye. And I thought, well, you know, a lot of good I did. I didn't get their attention, but as it turns out, I think we won that game something like 40-20. But we did not play very well on the defensive side of the ball in particular. And so I'm just kind of reminiscing here, and there's a war story for the fans to consider. I think that the William and Mary team that we entertained was vastly more organized and superior. You know, William and Mary knows how to win a football game. They always have. But I'm just kind of making an analogy here. So I would just say be very, very careful about going out and hoping you score 220 points. Maybe you do. And, you know, for the fans that say don't take your foot off the gas, let me tell you something right now. There is a huge amount of football left for the East Carolina Pirates to play after this football game that could be very, very, very meaningful to the program. Point I'm making, you get ahead 3 scores on this football team and you feel good about it, you make sure that Caden Hauser doesn't take another snap of football. You make sure that whoever it is on the defensive side of your football that you feel is a linchpin football player, he's not on the field the moment you're absolutely sure that things are under control and you can take him out of harm's way. We were talking this morning, again, on the program that I was on this morning, about, hey, we're rolling now and winning breeds winning and we're feeling good and we got a chance and we're tied for first in the conference and blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting here listening to that, and it's all 100% true. And the millions of things that are going through all of the scar tissue that I built up over the years and years of coaching about being on a roll, and anything can disrupt that, particularly an injury at a key position. Or how about this? You go out and play a good football game, you're getting ready for the next football game, and you get a midnight phone call from the police chief, and Johnny the linebacker decided to get into a fist fight, and he's not going to play the rest of the year, or whatever. And the list is endless that can disrupt a winning football team and destroy the vibe that is currently going on. Because, you know, backing up 1 week, I did make the comment that East Carolina's game against Temple was one of the more complete games that's been played by an East Carolina football team in a long, long time against a pretty good football team in Temple. Temple never threatened. That game was never uncomfortable. And those are rare, rare, rare opportunities. So there's my little rant on that and having to play as a heavy, heavy favorite. And, you know, the only thing that I think that can disrupt, there are 2 things that can disrupt this weekend. And that's a immature, distracted approach by the players. The coaches aren't going to do that. I'm just telling you. The coaches won't do that. It is the coach's responsibility to make sure the players don't do that. But I'm telling you, the players, they're capable of that. And then, of course, the turnover monster can always rear its ugly head. And that can change the outcome of a football game in New York minute. So there's that for the East Carolina Charlotte game. I mean, you know, normally I run through the numbers, but the numbers are, I mean, East Carolina's scoring at a 32-point clip. Charlotte can't score a touch. They're scoring 17 points a game, which in this day and age is nothing, 0. Okay, and Charlotte, in the meantime, is giving up 37 points a game. So, you know, 37. Do the math. You get about 10. Let's say you get 10 to 12 possessions a game, and the team is giving up 37 points a game. That means that 6 out of the 10 drives a game, somebody's scoring points. So this team is not very good. They cannot convert on third down. They're giving up 42% third down conversions. Their turnover ratio is -8. They have gained 8 turnovers, given up 16. It's a perfectly bad football team. So there's all that in a nutshell, and on we go. So, what do we got here?
We got about 2-3
Philip,
minutes.
we got about, what, 4 or 5 minutes?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, I'm going to just set this up, and then, we're going to be a little bit herky-jerky here. We've got, the Duke and the UNC and the NC State. That's all worth talking about coming up. But what really caught my attention today, the hiring and firing of football coaches has become a blood sport, and it's entertainment. It's entertainment for the media. It's entertainment for the fans. And, that's just life in the fast lane. I get it. But what is happening this year and the rate at which it is happening and who it is happening to is worth noting because it is different. And I want to start off with for those of you a name, Kevin White. Kevin White, I believe Philip was the athletic director at Notre Dame. I believe he may have been at Duke at some point, but he was a big shot in NCAA athletics when I was coaching and working in the NCAA. And he always had a lot to say. He was on the Knight Commission, I believe, all this kind of stuff, big, powerful name in the sport. And out of nowhere, he comes out with a comment just this last week. And he says, over my almost 4 decades as a director of athletics, college athletics has never been at the current level of disarray, a condition of utter helplessness or despair. The ecosystem is terribly broken, not sustainable, largely fueled by funny money, which is activated in an artificial market. The pay-for-play system known as NIL has served to deregulate the larger enterprise, wherein no rules, regulations, or guardrails exist. It should be noted that the level of deregulation does not exist within any professional sport league. Okay, now I couldn't even get through that little commentary from Kevin White, former bigwig athletic director. I'm sure he's a good guy, okay? But I just want to scream at him and all of his generation of administrators and say to Kevin, hey, Kevin, you want to know what started all of this? You. All you guys needed to do, beginning in the mid-90s when it became apparent, and there was a cry from student athletes and coaches like me and my generation going, hey guys, you know what? This football thing, this major college athletic thing, football, basketball, baseball, if you're a major college athlete, you are a full-time job employee by any standard. That's what you're doing. You're spending 40 and 50 hours a week at your craft, of which we gave you a scholarship. That's a good idea, okay? But there needed to have been a monetary pay. It's called pay. Pay the players something to help them with their off-the-field expenses and the time expenditure that was necessary in being a Division I athlete. But no, and I've given this audience too many horror stories and war stories from my days. My most vivid scar about money to an athlete was when I needed to fly one of my football players home to a family funeral. And I was told I could not do that because it was an impermissible benefit to an NCAA athlete. I'll guarantee you I bought that ticket. Yes, I did. And I could have lost my job for it. But I'm just, this kind of stuff, and I've got a stack of paper and a whole dissertation about this comment and how blindly ignorant the comment is about what we're experiencing in college football. And I want to take our audience through it, the hirings, the firings, the people that are getting ready to get fired. And then on top of that, I've got another comment from an athletic director down at LSU just about 2 days ago that encapsulates this entire dissertation that I'm going to get into. So We'll get in and out of that conversation as the show goes along. We're going to take a little break here, and when we come back, we're going to have Jim Zoki come on. Jim will give us our East Carolina talk, and folks, out of nowhere, Carolina Panthers are interesting. We'll be right back.
Greenville Utilities customers should be proud to know that their electric, natural gas, water, and wastewater utilities are owned by the community. That means decisions are made locally, not in some other city or state. It means the utilities are run in the best interest of the community, not to make profits for out-of-state shareholders. It means reliability is high while rates remain low. Greenville Utilities, safely providing reliable utility solutions for the Greenville region since 1905.
I want to take a minute here to tell you about Bill Clark Homes. The football stadium, the baseball stadium, the Pirate Club, whatever it is, Bill Clark Homes has always been there for ECU. The reason they can do all of this is because Bill Clark Homes continues to build quality homes and neighborhoods in both the Greenville area and in the Wilmington area. And whether it's Greenville or Wilmington, you can choose your school district with several homes under construction and available now in both markets. Eastern North Carolina's premier home builder, Bill Clark Homes, building family traditions.
It's Bo time. Fumble in the food on game day? Rookie move. But you know Bo can make your tailgate a winner, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Because the Carolina Legend has everything you're craving. We're talking crispy, juicy chicken loaded with real Southern flavor, fluffy, scratch-made buttermilk biscuits, and all the fixins to feed your whole crew faster than you can say touchdown. Be the MVP this season and let Bojangles do the cooking. Order your tailgate today. It's Bo time.
Fall is a great time for broadcast weed control. Let Eastern Turf Maintenance give your lawn the attention it needs and keep winter weeds out of your yard. When the Pirates come out to compete, they want to make sure their field is ready too. Eastern Turf Maintenance maintains the field for ECU, and they can do the same for you and your lawn. Contact Eastern Turf Maintenance today. Go to etmlawncare.com for all the information. That's ETM for Eastern Turf Maintenance, lawncare.com.
Hey, this is Gray Fussell, fourth-generation winemaker at Duplin Winery and proud alumnus of ECU. It's that time of year again, time for my latest Duplin radio ad and time for Pirate football. As always, I'd love for you to visit us in Rose Hill, North Myrtle Beach, or Panama City Beach, and to look for our delicious Duplin wines at your favorite store. You can also check us out online at DuplinWinery.com for all of our wines and the best cheesecake in the world. Thank you for your support, and go Pirates!
Medlin Chevrolet is your trusted Ayden dealership. Medlin Chevrolet has made their home in Ayden, serving Pitt, Lenoir, and surrounding areas for 7 years. We're growing. Now under construction is our brand new service facility to serve you even better. Try our service department for your work trucks, fleet, and personal vehicles, and you'll be with us for life. Our staff are courteous, service-minded professionals that answer the phones themselves and walk you through your purchase or service journey. Find the perfect vehicle for your lifestyle today at Medlin Chevrolet, Monday through Saturday, Highway 11, Ayden.
Hey folks, Coach Logan here. Did you know that one of the top-rated insurance agencies in the country has been operating right here in our backyard since 1952? Snipes Insurance was just awarded a 2025 Best Practices designation, one of only 16 in North Carolina to receive this honor. Director of Benefits and Pirate alum Lewis Gale lives right here in Greenville. They also have a dedicated commercial and agricultural department. Check them out at snipesinsurance.com or email Lewis at snipesinsurance.com.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Welcome in. Segment 2 of the Logan Zone here, week 11 of the show. And do want to thank some of our title sponsors before we get to Jim Zoki. Even though Greenville Utilities has a reliability rate of more than 99.99%, sometimes outages happen. Just like in football, you need to have a plan for what to do just in case. Right now, grab your cell phone, open on the contact list, and add GUC's emergency hotline as a contact. Here's the number to use. 1-855-767-2482. That's 855-SOS-2-GUC. Plan on using that instead of fumbling around for the number when the lights go out. Now we are going to toss it back over to Coach Logan and the voice of the Pirates, Jim Szoke.
All right, back in the Logan Zone we go. And Zoke, are you with us there, man?
Right here, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing good. So just a little backtrack here. I was really concerned. I live in fear as a coach. I thought we were going to lose every football game we ever played before kickoff, but I was really kind of shocked in a good way. It's not very often you see a football game where, and I've made this comment publicly, East Carolina, that was one of the most complete football games I've seen East Carolina play in a long time, and it happened against an opponent that was, on paper, certainly equal and capable, and the upside down environment, all the things that you and I talked about. East Carolina went in, and just give me a comment on what it was like up there on game day, because it was a rock solid performance in my opinion.
It's funny because you're being a coach. I asked the coaches during our interview session today. I said, "Was that what you said? Was that the most complete game you guys have played this year?" And they both mentioned there were two turnovers, one fumble, one interception.
Yeah, well, that's what coaches do.
You can put up 600 yards, 45 points. Yeah, well, we turned the ball over 2 times. It was a lead in both cases. Typical coaches. So I didn't say perfection. I said what you said. I said, was it the most complete game of the ones you played? And I agree with you. I think it was. There's no doubt because, I mean, you put up the number of yards that you do offensively and obviously the 45 points while holding them to 14 and picked off a quarterback, Evan Simon. We talked about him for like 2 weeks in a row. You got one pick. You could have had 3 or 4, honestly. Dropped a couple. So Josh Aldridge and Blake have got that defense humming along on top of what J.D. Baker's doing with the offense there. So it's playing really well altogether. Great complementary football. And the biggest piece of all that, I think, at the centerpiece of all that, is just being able to run the ball the way that they have. When you can run for well over 300 yards, takes the pressure off your passing offense, takes the pressure off your defense because the other offense is on the sideline while you're doing all that. So that, to me, was the biggest takeaway from everything.
Well, I agree with you. The running of the football in particular, that game was unlike anything I had seen for years and years from an East Carolina football team. And again, I expected a little bit more resistance from Temple, but like I say, I think East Carolina caused Temple to play badly. And, that's a mark of a good football team and a compliment to East Carolina. So, having said that, moving forward, I mentioned it last week, it was a crossroads football game for both programs, and it sets East Carolina up now to, they got a handful of games, everybody's going to remember November, as they say. And this Charlotte thing, when you look at the numbers, there's just, no way on the planet, it looks like, that East Carolina could lose this football game. That's just and that isn't something that any football coach, I'm not a football coach anymore, so I can say that out loud now. And so, moving forward, that's the idea, is you just make sure that you come out and handle business. And in the meantime, I just don't know what else to say about this coming game. Don't turn the ball over and go play your brand of football. I don't know what else to put on top of that.
No, that's literally it. You know that, Steve. It's like if you don't give them a reason to win, and that was part of North Texas. We'll say they win the game 54-20 over Charlotte 2 weeks ago when they last played. And in that game, Charlotte was up 17-7. They were only down 3, 2017, late in the third quarter, and some of that was because North Texas turned the ball over a couple times. So yeah, as long as you don't make a bunch of mistakes and penalties at the wrong time and turn the ball over, and then just you said play Pirates football. This should be a really happy homecoming and Hall of Fame game for everybody. So it sets up nice for them. You're at home. Again, Panthers went to Green Bay as 2 touchdown underdogs. They won, so you never say never. But if you just play a regular day of football out there, don't have anything horribly negative go against you, you take the win and move on, hopefully, and get that full eligibility. So hopefully they take care of business. Well,
and I've forgotten about that. This, that big number 6 is an important At some schools, the Georgias and the big boys, number 6 means absolutely nothing. But at a lot of the schools, and certainly at East Carolina, number 6 is a big deal. And the bowl game is a big deal. It has so many positive ramifications to your program. And so that'll be a big deal. But then just let's go ahead and do things that coaches are not supposed to do. And let's assume, that'll get you beat. But anyway, let's assume we take care of business, Charlotte. Then, all of a sudden you've got Memphis coming to Greenville. And this could shape up to be, one of the bigger American Conference games of the year in a lot of ways, because you talk about a crossroads football game now. Whoever wins that football game, it's going to get really, really interesting for the winner of that football game.
No doubt. And again, we're doing the presume ECU wins. You're a one-loss team, so you're 4-1 in the conference. Right now, Memphis has a Friday game. They play Tulane, so that's a big game right there in itself. Tulane 3-1 in the conference. Memphis 4-1 in the conference. Play tomorrow night. So one of those two teams is going to have 2 losses. With Tulane having beaten ECU, you have to become for a moment a Memphis fan, and then hope you take care of business when Memphis comes into Greenville next week. So yeah, big games are made by your team winning and making them into big games. So the Pirates, if they win this game on Saturday, they set themselves up for a guaranteed big conference game coming up next Saturday at home.
Well, I hope that all transpires, and it looks like it probably will, and particularly if Memphis finds a way to beat Tulane. And I think Memphis will beat Tulane. I've watched both of those teams, and there's something missing. Tulane's a good football team, but there's something missing with Tulane's, I don't know what you want to call it, their chemistry, something, their red zone, let me put it this way, what is identifiable with Tulane, their red zone capabilities are lacking, to say it nicely. They screw up in the red zone as many times I've ever seen a good football team do. It's just amazing. But, I think Memphis, if I were a betting guy, and I certainly am not, I would bet on Memphis to win this football game. And if that happens, you're talking about, you could see one of the old-time 1990 type atmospheres in Greenville, like the BYU game was this year in Greenville. You're talking, fill the stadium up and have a rock and roll affair in the Memphis game.
Yeah, it'd be fun because we're just now getting into the Saturday afternoon portion of the schedule after all those Thursday night games. So you got 2 back-to-back home games on a Saturday afternoon where you have the ability to have your full crowd be able to travel in and come see it. So I hope it's that way. I don't know what the ticket sales are looking like for Charlotte. I know Charlotte's not having a great year, but again, homecoming and Hall of Fame Day and having an in-state rival. Hopefully that's the case tomorrow. And then just from the standpoint of 2 really good teams coming in the next week with the Memphis game, a great way to close out the home slate this year. So hopefully that's the case.
All right. Well, let's shift gears and move on to the most interesting thing that I think is happening in the universe of football. And that is the Carolina Panthers are interesting. Now, Zoke, here's the deal. I fiddled around and coached quarterbacks a long time, and as you know, I'm publicly rooting for Bryce Young to make it. I don't know at what level. I just want the kid to make it. I've heard too many great things about what kind of a person he is. He's got talent. It's a different talent. It just is relative to the normal NFL attributes. But this guy goes to Green Bay and throws for, I think, exactly 108 yards and 1 interception, and the Panthers win at Green Bay, and I think the spread was almost 2 touchdowns, which is unheard of spread in the NFL. I mean, you were there. Tell me what the devil went on.
Well, first of all, Steve, you over the stats. It was 102 yards with an interception.
Well, I missed
by
6.
So you gave him way too many yards. But it was windy there, no doubt. But and that affected the pass game, and you got to play with that in the kick game every time you're headed one way down the field or the other. It's one of those days where it's pretty much one direction, not the other. It's swirled a little bit. But, yeah, it was a day for the running game. I'll give you another stat about Bryce Young, and I'm a fan too. Hopefully he puts it together, keeps growing. This is his third year, though. He's only thrown over 200 yards one time this year. And this is the NFL. So at some point, to feel good about it, you want to know when the day comes where you've got to have a big passing day, that when you need 300, 350, that it's there. And he has not consistently shown that. He's had times in his career where he's thrown for 300 or close to it at certain times, but not very often. But what he is the classic game manager, and he does have an ability. I will say this in the clutch, and this was one of those, to lead game-winning drives without messing it up. He had to make a couple clutch throws and lead that drive that got to the 49-yard field goal to win it at Green Bay. So he's had 9 winning drives, game-winning drives, in his starts over his 2+ years in the league. So that's good, and that's as you know, the quarterback position is not just something that's stats and numbers on a page. There's leadership, there's intangibles, there's things that come with it beyond just what you do as a numbers guy. And so that's good. I think that's encouraging. But hopefully overall, though, his game improves. I wonder, I look at that Xavier Legette. You mentioned the interception in the end zone. And, maybe Legette certainly could have fought harder for the ball, but maybe it wasn't where he thought it was going to be, or he didn't run his route right. But that ball just seemed to hang in the air and die. So you also make sure you have the arm strength to be able to handle certain conditions. You talk about, win in November. Sometimes you got to win in December and in January, and it's outdoors in the Northeast somewhere. So you want a quarterback that can play in any kind of weather.
Well, you mentioned arm strength, and I'm not, arm strength is an interesting topic that a room full of quarterback coaches could sit around and discuss forever. And I will say, and again, I've not been on the field. I've certainly not been, up close and personal watching Bryce Young throw a football, but, I know what it's supposed to look like. And I've said this many, many, many times. In my journey, I had a young man named Jeff Blake. After that, I had a young man named David Garrard. After that, I had a young man in NFL Europe, Rohan Davey, who was LSU's starting quarterback and Tom Brady's backup quarterback at the New England Patriots. And then, so just hold that thought for a minute. Those four men that I just mentioned could throw a BB through a battleship. The arm strength those men had, I have actual film of Jeff Blake and Rohan Davey in particular, and David Garrard. All three of those men have thrown balls 62 yards in the air for touchdowns for me. And that's a matter of fact. And they could stand on one hash and throw a deep comeback to the wide side of the field, and the air time on the ball was 0.0. So having said that, all of a sudden the football gods gave me Matt Ryan. And I came to Boston College, and Matt Ryan, I was told when I came on board that, well, they're thinking he's a 4th-round draft pick type guy, and here we go. And, there's a long story attached to that. But anyway, I began to work with Matt, and he did not have a strong arm. And I think to this day, one of the longest balls Matt ever threw in the NFL was about 55, 56 yards, which he did for me many times. But the timing and the accuracy and the softness of the throw was Mona Lisa level stuff. It was just unbelievably beautiful. Having said that, Matt's balls, the balls that he threw were firm. The airtime was minimal, but it was a timing type throw. But when I watch some of these balls come out of Bryce Young's hands, the airtime on the ball and just the lack of finish, what I call finish to the throw, it's alarming. And again, here we are. The Panthers are 5-4. I don't even know what I want you to say to all that, but there you go.
You cook with the recipes you got in the kitchen, and I think he's really good at handing the ball off to Rico Dowdle and throwing that crack toss to Rico Dowdle, and that'll make you a really good quarterback when you got a running back who's running about as well as anybody in the entire NFL at this moment. And we'll see. I mean, Rico's been in the league 5 years. He hasn't always been running at this level, but whatever the chemistry and combination is right now, he is leading the league in yards after contact. So while he's also getting some blocking up front, he's also extending those runs. through him breaking through a lot of his tackles. You physically, visibly see him breaking tackles. So he's getting some good downfield blocking from the receivers and tight ends to help make some of those longer runs happen. But, really good running game, again, can make everything better, take the pressure off the quarterback. And, there are ways of winning, like that. Go back to the early days of the Carolina Panthers, 1996, second year, and they get all the way to the NFC Championship game with Kerry Collins at quarterback. But they were able to run the ball really well. And then with, Jake Delhomme was never known as the strongest arm guy. He had an NFL arm, but it wasn't a cannon.
Right.
But they had Stephen Davis, and you had Deshaun Foster, and you had Steve Smith jumping out of the roof if he had to go catch radius, make it big enough area with his 5'10" body or whatever to go find those catches for him. So you kind of work with what you got, and sometimes that's all it takes. Right? We all know Trent Dilfer going to a Super Bowl. I mean, there's stories through time where the quarterback is not the most important guy or the lead character that gets you there.
Well, and you're right. There's a lot of ways to skin the cat. I'm looking at the Panthers upcoming. We got the Saints at home, true, and right now the Saints. I mentioned this to you at the beginning of the season. I knew, and I think it's proving to be right. The Saints don't have a quarterback. They just don't, and they're struggling in a lot of areas. So, if the Panthers will show up and maybe just do what you're talking about, hand the ball off, play the defense they're playing right now, you got a chance for a 6-4 football team down the stretch. And, then it's at Atlanta, and Atlanta is schizophrenic. Raheem Morris, who I love, I work for Raheem, they just can't quite get their footings. There are days that the Falcons look like a really good football team, and then there's just no telling what's going to come out of the huddle or the tunnel with those guys. And then down the list, at San Francisco and then the L.A. Rams back-to-back, that's going to be, again, like we mentioned a couple of weeks, that's big boy football is going to show up again. And so it's just going to be a real interesting stretch, to see where this football team, where it ends up, how it's going to go.
Yeah, they've got a chance if they win this one against New Orleans, and they're favored for the first time this year. They're favored. If they take care of business at home, they'll be 6-4, and at least it gives you a little momentum heading into that stretch of the last 7 games. And Atlanta's been a disappointment. I feel like Atlanta's doing things the right way, like you said. They've got a good coach. They've got all the pieces. Penix is still growing. He's young, but the skill position, Bijan Robinson's probably the best running back overall in the league, and Drake London. I mean, they've got great pieces. They added to the defense a lot this off season, so they seem to be doing things the right way. And then you look at their record; they're 3-5, and somehow the Panthers beat them 30-0 like a month ago. So, like you said, they've been a little schizophrenic with that. But I think they're too talented to stay that way. I think that Atlanta's going to make a run at some point here.
I agree with that. And then, of course, to close the season, you got Tampa, Seattle, and then Tampa again, and I coached in that. I coached in the NFL South in that division with Tampa Bay, and it's a curious thing. On paper, you look at the close of the season where the Panthers have Tampa at home, and then Seattle at home, and then you go right back and play at Tampa again. All I remember from 3 years in that division, I don't know, it sounds corny, but to a large degree, it really kind of didn't matter. When you play teams twice each year, anything and everything can happen in those, and they did. Anything and everything happened when I was at Tampa Bay, and we would play Atlanta early in the year and then play them in the middle of the year, and then here come the Saints twice, and then here comes, the fourth opponent. It just there's just no telling how this thing could end up, but it's going to be fun to watch, and I know it's been a lot more fun for you doing the color and watching some victories for a change, because I know it's kind of a little bit long suffering.
Yeah, somebody asked me earlier today, said Panthers win, they have 6 wins. When was the last time they had 6 wins? Really not that long ago. It was Steve Wilkes when he was the interim coach. I think it was 2022 season, because then they brought in Frank Reich in 2023 and so forth. But he relieved Matt Rule during that season. He inherited a 1-4 team and had them play good ball. They went 6-6 or whatever the rest of the way. Finished 7-10. So to go 6-6 with it was a dumpster fire. It wasn't even a close 1-4. They were just playing horrible ball. In fact, just gotten blown out by the 49ers in Charlotte, what looked like a road game to San Francisco. The stands were filled with red, and it didn't even look like a Panther home game. And out of that, Steve Wilkes did a great job of just putting it together with a run game and playing great defense. And, I mean, they didn't have much. If they had P.J. Walker at quarterback, they didn't really have anything to work with, and he got 6-6 out of that the rest of the way. So, and that was kind of the last time they were interesting. I think they went down to the last week. The last game was not a playoff implication game for them. They were eliminated at that point. But to your point, to just have interesting games, and I always thought this year is the year that would get to the year where they might be good, but if they happen to move the calendar up a little bit based on the way the division plays this year, that would be great. But we'll let the weeks play out and see if it becomes that or not. But at the very least, they should be very relevant, deep into December to have an opportunity.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and on your end of things, you got a game to call this Saturday. The Pirates are winning, the Panthers are winning, and if they start screwing up, it's your fault. Got it?
You do that to me every week, Steve. I do the best I can, but I will take on that bird, and I will do my 1/12. Because there's 11 players, I'll do my 1/12.
Jim, the first year you were in Greenville, the Pirates only won 2 games, and the Panthers only won 2 games. This is why we pick on you.
Thanks for the weekly reminder, Philip.
That's what friends are for.
Oh, man. So 2 games in Greenville and 2 for the Panthers, that would be what? 2-14 and 2-9. That's rough stuff, man. I'm amazed you're still calling games. I'd have quit mid-season, man.
I don't even know why I like sports at this point.
Exactly. I appreciate you coming in, man. We'll check with you next week. Hopefully 2 more victories for the Zone. Got it?
We'll see what we can do.
All right. Jim Zokey, voice of the Pirates, color commentator for the Carolina Panthers that are suddenly an interesting football team. All right. We're going to take some calls in the next segment, Philip. Is that what we're doing?
Yep. Calls 252-561-4263. Best caller gets a Bojangles 8-piece tailgate.
252-561-4263. And when we get back, I'm going to continue to talk about this hiring-firing cycle and the mathematics that are involved. And this is interesting stuff. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Golden Corral is turning up the heat at dinner with all-you-can-eat wings. Dive into 3 crave-worthy flavors: classic buffalo, sweet chili, and garlic parmesan. Hot and ready, alongside all your buffet favorites. Whether you're savoring the flavors in the dining room or grabbing wings to go, Golden Corral's got your dinner, your football viewing, and your tailgating covered. It's wings, it's game day, and it's all you can eat, only at Golden Corral.
Hey folks, Steve Logan here. Hot or cold, Wilson Roads Heating and Air Conditioning has been in the keeping you comfortable business since 1961 on Hooker Road in Greenville. Steve Rhodes, second generation, gives each customer a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Wilson Roads is an independent trained comfort specialist dealer specializing in new installations, home replacements, and service agreements on all makes and models. Go online at wilsonroads.com and finance up to 60 months on qualifying equipment. Hot or cold, get the job done right. Wilson Roads, you'll be comfortable in no time.
After selflessly serving in the military to protect our country, our heroes often bear the burden of debilitating neurological damage from traumatic brain injury or post-traumatic stress disorder. Every day, 18 veterans take their own lives. But there is hope. HBOT for Heroes is a nonprofit committed to making groundbreaking hyperbaric oxygen therapy available to veterans. Find out more at hbotforheroes.org. That's hbot4heroes.org. And look for HBOT for Heroes soon in Jacksonville near Camp Lejeune.
It's the season for warmer clothes, hot apple cider, and changing leaves. But what doesn't change and what won't change is our commitment to your complete satisfaction each and every time you visit our dealership. Phelps Chevrolet in Greenville. Complete customer satisfaction isn't just a seasonal thing, it's delivered every day. That's why we are the place to find your next truck or SUV. Come in and get you one. Phelps Chevrolet. Visit today or see us on the web.
Terrain changes, seasons change, but Honda ATVs, they show up ready. The 2026 4Trax Rancher, Foreman, and Rubicon are back, just as reliable as ever. With available four-wheel drive, automatic DCT, and independent rear suspension on select models, there's a Honda built for how you ride. Visit Ron Ayers Motorsports today and count on a Honda to get it done. For your safety, read the owner's manual and always wear a helmet and eye protection. Honda ATVs are for riders 16 years and older. Visit Ron Ayers Motorsports, north of the airport on Memorial Drive, Greenville.
Anson Belt & Buckle offers a micro-adjustable, holeless belt, giving you the perfect fit every time. As an ECU alumni-owned business since 2009, Anson Belt is proud to be the official belt of East Carolina Athletics. Looking for a new belt for yourself or a special pirate? Visit AnsonBelt.com to see why over 30,000 customers have given their Anson Belt a 5-star review. With dozens of materials to choose from and thousands of possible combinations, you'll find the belt for every occasion, especially game day, at AnsonBelt.com.
If you haven't been to Shaw's Barbecue in Williamston lately, you don't know what you're missing. Start the day off right with one of their sausage dogs, old-fashioned cheese biscuits, or any combination of breakfast sandwiches you can think of. For lunch or dinner, get crispy fried chicken, fresh seafood, or, of course, barbecue. You can get pulled, chopped, sliced, even G-Man chopped barbecue. What's G-Man chopped barbecue? Head to Shaw's and ask them. Shaw's Barbecue, West Boulevard in Williamston. Open daily except Sunday.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Welcome back into the Logan Zone here at Bojangles. Football season is tailgate season, and again, this year Bojangles is a proud partner of ECU Athletics to celebrate Pirate football. No matter where you are on game day, pick up a Bojangles tailgate box with all the chicken fixins, buttermilk biscuits, and fresh brewed tea hungry fans want. Remember this, Pirate Nation, when you want to step up your game day festivities, it's Bo time. Speaking of Bojangles, we do have our first caller on the line. That caller is Kevin, and we are going to toss it over now to Coach Logan and Kevin.
All right, back in the Logan Zone we go, and Kevin, you are in the zone. What you got going, man?
Good evening, Coach. How's it going?
Great.
Two things. One thing you said, which I agree with, is like as soon as a game's in hand, you want to get your premier players out. Why do you think, over the past 10 years, I think I've kind of seen coaches wait too long to actually pull players out? And then a good example is Dan Quinn not pulling Jaden Daniels out last week and dislocated his elbow. So why do you think coaches wait too long to pull a player out? And then the other thing is I have a 1991 highlight tape commemorating the ECU season. I was wondering if Coach Logan would sign it.
I will do that if you will send it when this call's over. Stay with Philip on the line, and Philip will give you an address that you could send that to 94.3 Henry Hinton Station, and at some point I'll get my hands on it. I'd be glad to sign that for you, okay?
I appreciate it. Okay,
well, Kevin, the first part of your question now, let me delineate something for you and the fans, talking about what the statement I made about getting your best players out of the game if you feel like that you've got the game in control. At the collegiate level and the NFL level, those are two entirely different issues. At the NFL level, there are contractual issues involved. There are incentives involved. So you may be losing 34-0, and you've got a wide receiver out there that's doing everything he can to catch one more football that may trigger a financial incentive in his contract. You may have a left tackle that's really, really good, and you're getting beat 34-0 or ahead 34-0. And your left tackle, he's got an incentivized number of snaps clause in his contract. So he's not coming out. All right, and there's all kind. I'm painting a picture. It's very complicated in the NFL. On top of this, all right, in the NFL, you've got 2 active quarterbacks for every game. Every now and then you'll do 3. Normally it's 2. All right. So the running back room, you'll have 3 running backs ready to go. And the offensive line. Let's talk about the left tackle that I just talked about. He's a multi-million-dollar guy, and he's out there, and it's 34-0. You're only carrying 7 active offensive linemen into each game. So you've only got 2 reserves to begin with. And like I say, I'm just painting a picture. It gets a little bit sticky at the NFL level. At the collegiate level, it is not those issues I just threw at you at the collegiate level. You can put kids in and out of a game at the will of the head coach, and there's not much discussion about it. The only thing that gets a little bit sticky at the collegiate level, and I've been there as a head coach, you're saying, all right, we've got this thing under control, and you pull a couple of guys out and you put in the second team unit. Invariably, stupid things begin to happen. Invariably. Now, you got to be prepared for that. But here's where I'm really headed, and this is the key to it. Once you take the good player out, which I am an advocate of, and I tried to do that every chance I got. Once you go down that road, if the stuff starts hitting the fan, if you know what I mean, putting those guys back in and trying to restart the engine, that gets pretty sticky. So you just got to make double sure and be very confident when you pull that trigger, because like I say, it gets a little sticky. All right, we're up against a hard break right now. When we get back, we will still be taking phone calls. Nope. Are we going to do Matt Chasnow when we come back?
We'll do a short opening segment.
Short opening segment. I'll take a little call at the beginning, and then we'll do some NC State stuff. We'll be right back. 252-561-4262.
Have you had a colonoscopy? If you're between the ages of 45 and 75, you need to be screened regularly for colorectal cancer. Dr. Philip Goldstein and Dr. Maurice Marquardt at Carolina Digestive Diseases and Endoscopy Center want to keep you healthy. They provide treatment and quality care for all GI needs. Just call the office at 252-758-8181.
This is Dr. Philip Goldstein reminding you that a colonoscopy can save your life. Visit our website, cddgastro.com, and come see us at Carolina Digestive Diseases.
Looking for outdoor storage? Maybe a she shed, man cave, tiny home, or greenhouse? If so, East Carolina Outdoor Products is your one-stop shop. East Carolina Outdoor Products has just opened 2 locations in Greenville, on Memorial Drive across from Ron Ayers and on Greenville Boulevard across from AccuLink. East Carolina Outdoor Products also custom builds right in your lot. East Carolina Outdoor Products is the only company in Eastern North Carolina that manufactures, delivers, and sells outdoor storage buildings. And they're pirates. 10 locations in Eastern North Carolina.
Are you unhappy with your smile? Doctors Bowman Padgett and Associates can help you with state-of-the-art procedures to get your smile game day ready. Bowman Padgett and Associates agree that dressing up like a pirate for game day is one thing, but smiling like one may not be the way you want to go. Schedule your appointment at bowmanpadgett.com. That's bowmanpadgett.com or call 252-752-1111. Doctors Bowman Padgett and Associates.
We are the Denison ECU. Hey!
Fall is hands down the best time at Fish Street Hardware in downtown Greenville. We've got live music, trivia, singo, karaoke, and more to keep your nights lively. Plus, game days are back and better than ever with home and away tailgate parties as we cheer on the Pirates all season long. Make NFL Sunday your new Sunday fun day with brunch at 10, games all day, and doors open until 9. We're also extending our hours on Fridays and Saturdays, now open until 11 with live music from 8 to 11, including monthly full band shows. Stay connected on all social media and come see what all the buzz is about at Hardware this fall.
When making decisions on your insurance coverages to protect your most valuable assets, First State Insurance Advisors is here to help. When you choose First State, you are working with people you can trust right here in Eastern North Carolina. Clark Stallings and his team provide knowledgeable advice with excellent service. Whether you're protecting your family with life insurance, your home and auto with personal coverage, or your business with reliable commercial insurance, First State Insurance Advisors has you covered. We would be honored to become your trusted choice agency.
Hey folks, this is Coach Steve Logan for Walton Academy and Children's World Learning Centers. I've known the Walton family for years. In fact, I coached Chad and Blake Walton in Pee Wee years ago. Walton Academy is a K-8 private school in Greenville on Arlington Boulevard. They also operate 4 Children's World Learning Centers across the city. The Waltons believe school should be a place where kids feel inspired, supported, and excited to learn. I promise you that if the Waltons put their name on something, it's done with heart, purpose, and excellence.
Is your pharmacy fumbling when it comes to customer service, prescription fills, compounding, medical equipment, and enteral intravenous therapy? Perhaps it's time for you to allow HealthWise Pharmacy to score a touchdown in regards to your pharmaceutical needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, HealthWise Pharmacy puts you and your health first, offering top-of-the-line customer service, individual attention, and free prescription delivery to anywhere in Pitt County. HealthWise Pharmacy, 615B Memorial Drive in Greenville.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Back into the Logan Zone here on 94.3 The Game and 96.3, hour 2 of the Logan Zone. Demetrius right now is on the phone with our next caller, getting their information down. So we are about to do next caller, sorry. But real quick, we are going to tell you about Bill Clark Homes. Bill Clark Homes has been there for ECU, and they can continue to support year after year because Bill Clark Homes continues to build quality homes and neighborhoods in both the Greenville area and the Wilmington area. And whether it's Greenville or Wilmington, you can choose your school district with several homes under construction available now in both markets. Eastern Carolina's premier home builder, Bill Clark Homes, building family traditions. Now we're going to toss it back over to Coach Logan.
All right. Back in the Logan Zone we go. And so, Phil, did you say we had a caller or not? Your volume was a little bit low coming back.
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to do it so Demetrius could hear who he was on the phone with. I was trying to be courteous of him, but no, there was not. Ended up not being a caller. So.
All right. Well, that's fine. So, real quickly, when we opened the show, I gave a little dissertation from a former bigwig in the NCAA, former well-known athletic director, Kevin White. I believe he was at Notre Dame, may have been at Duke at some point, but he was bemoaning the fact of how wild things have gotten with the NIL and money flying everywhere. And I just wanted to, throw up, because all of this is his generation of administrators' fault. All of this could have been avoided by simply admitting that we were no longer truly amateur at the collegiate level in the 80s, the 90s, all the way leading up to this insanity that we're involved in now, where all the guardrails have been thrown off. And so he makes that comment. And so the next thing that came across my desk, and I just can't wait to get to this. Okay, so what we're dealing with now, and the reason, the number of coaches that are getting fired and these multi-million-dollar payouts, and again, I'm going to run through this list real quick. So far this season, and the season's not over yet, we have fired Arkansas, Colorado State, Florida, Kent State, LSU, Oklahoma State, Oregon State, Penn State, Stanford, Virginia Tech, UAB, UCLA, Auburn. We will, before the season's over, fire somebody at Wisconsin, South Carolina, Boston College, and possibly Maryland. Okay? Now, hold that thought. Here comes a quote. We all know what just happened at LSU. Regardless of what you think of Brian Kelly, and Brian Kelly, his winning percentage is like 80%, something stupid like that. He's won 300 football games. And as I mentioned this morning, again, I was doing a radio piece this morning, there's a million ways to skin this cat, this winning thing. There's a million ways to do it. You can be Attila the Hun, you can be a player's coach, you can be, you name it. Any kind of leader you want to be, and still win a national championship. I worked for two men that won national championships. I worked for Bill McCartney at Colorado, and it was create a crisis leadership. It was incredibly uncomfortable. and a hard place to work and a hard man to work for. I worked 1 year for Jimmy Johnson, who went on to win a national championship at Miami and 2 Super Bowls. Very comfortable place to work. Upbeat, here we go, going to have fun at practice, that kind of guy. So there's a lot of ways to do it. So anyway, just to set the stage for this, all right, they fire Brian Kelly, they fire all these people. So LSU needs a new football coach right now. Well, they fired the AD too. So they've got an interim AD, and I want you to listen to this quote. This week, he says, LSU has to be in the playoffs every year in football. Really? Really? If that's where you're headed, and that sounds good for the fans, all right, but when you say LSU has to be in the play, remember now, we're in uncharted territory here, sports fans. First of all, the Power Four conferences, this is the NFL. This is pro football. And nobody believes me yet. This is pro football, all right? But when you say that you have to be in the playoffs every year or else, basically is what he said, listen to this mathematics of this, just the mathematics of that statement. And this is absolutely beautiful, all right? So, here we go. The mathematics say this. In a 12-team playoff system, LSU is one of 16 SEC programs trying to win an automatic bid. Should the Tigers not earn that entry, they become one of 64 teams fighting to land one of 7 spots. All right? So when you do the math on that, that leaves you, first of all, if you're 16 teams trying to win an automatic bid in the SEC, you got a 6.2% chance of doing that. You got a 6.2% chance of doing that. If you don't get the automatic bid, do you want to know what your chances are of getting one of the 7 at-large berths? 10%. So you've got an athletic director that's hiring, hopefully, trying to hire somebody, and you're telling him, you better do this every year. You've got a 6% chance to succeed and a 10% chance on the back door end of things to get into this playoff, all right? Or you're going to get fired. Well, you just take all that and let me put some more numbers to you. In the National Football League's got 32 football teams. The National Football League's got 32 football teams. And those 32 football teams are competing for 14 playoff spots. Hold those numbers in your head for a minute. 32 teams for 14 slots. You got about a 45% chance of getting one of the slots on day one of the season. You're almost at 50-50 for being a playoff football team in the National Football League. Well, how about, and I'm just talking about the Power Four Conference now. The Power Four conferences have 70 teams. 70. Those 70 teams are competing for 12 spots. Philip, do you have a computer with you? Do you have a calculator on you? I'm not a math guy.
Yeah, I do.
But what's the percentage for 70 teams get to 12 spots?
Well, 11, because one of them is going to the
70 for 11.
Yeah, 11. 70 for 11, you're at 15.7% of
15
teams.
Points. So here we are, sports fans. Again, Steve Logan screaming into the night that, the Power Four journey now, which LSU, the athletic director at LSU just decided that they're going to be in the playoffs every year. That's what he just said. Okay, and he just fired a football coach that had, I don't know, like a 32-14 record. And again, I'm dismissing, I don't care what you think of all of this, other than the fact that the fans, and certainly the administrators, the athletic directors, they need to get a grip on some of the stuff that they're saying. Because I got news for you. In this new world, Indiana, Texas Tech, BYU right now, they don't care about all of your history. They're going to show up in Tiger Stadium and like Texas A&M. Texas A&M's never been where they are. They've had flashes, they've had moments, but I got news for you. All you blue bloods out there, your fan bases, your athletic director, your president of your university, your administration, you better get a grip on the fact that to begin the season, as I just mentioned, LSU, you've got a 6% chance of winning the SEC. You've got a 10% chance of getting an at-large bid. You'd be better off playing in the NFL. And so, there's another offshoot to this. Now that people are starting to understand how precious and difficult it is to get into the playoffs as one of these Power Four outfits, and I'm not even talking about the group of five, the other 70 schools out there like East Carolina that are fighting tooth and nail just to get whatever scrap is thrown their way. Okay, I'm just talking about the Power Four. Now that you got a grip on how difficult the journey really is, this should lead to an expansion of a 12-team playoff to 16. And to be honest with you, why not 20? Do the math. If you just took the NFL math, we got 32 teams trying to get 14 slots. And if you're going to play Power 4 football, and you got 70 teams, I got news for you. You're trying to throw a BB through a keyhole just to get into the playoffs. And I haven't even touched on the biases that are at work with the college football playoff committee or whatever that thing is that they invent where those guys get together and try to decide who's good and who's not good. They still hadn't figured out a way to, just do it on the field. Getting closer, but haven't done it yet. But along these lines, I want to, let's go back to the hiring class of coaches in 2023. The hiring class of coaches in 2023. This is 2025, and we're not finished with it yet. In 2023, Zach Arnett was hired as the head coach at Mississippi State. Tenure? 10 games. He got 10 games, and he's gone. He's fired. Okay? And again, there's a million reasons to do it. And I'm not advocating don't do it or do it. I'm just pointing out. Less than 2 seasons ago, a season and a half ago, 2023, Tom Herman is hired at Florida Atlantic. Tenure, 22 games. Old Tom got 22 games before they showed him the door. All right? Remember this name? Biff Poggi, Charlotte. There was a laboratory experiment, a multi-billionaire, and they just hand him the head job. He gets 22 games for a grand total of 6-16, and he's fired. Justified or not, that's how long you've got now. Kevin Wilson at my alma mater, University of Tulsa, hired in 2023. He got a grand total of 23 games. He's 7-16, and he's gone. He didn't even make it through the second season. All right? So there's a little dose for you to think about. Down the list we go. Ryan Walters was hired at Purdue at the beginning of 2023. He got a grand total of 24 games for a record of 5-19 halfway through the season. He's gone. Kenny Burns, Kent State, got 24 games for a record of 1-23. He's gone. Barry Odom, UNLV. Here's the one guy that has been hired at the 2023 cycle that went on to Purdue, as a matter of fact, because he did a good job there. Trent Dilfer, UAB, got 30 games, 9-21 record, gone. Hugh Freeze, Auburn, tenure, 34 games, 15-19, gone. Okay? Up next and coming your way will be Luke Fickell at Wisconsin before the season's over. Deion Sanders, what's going on with Deion? That could get interesting as well. So anyway, folks, there's my rant for the day. And I'm really ranting at fan bases and athletic directors. Y'all going to have to readjust your worldview. And that's just a matter of fact. All right. we got a caller on the line, Philip. Is that where we're headed?
Yeah, let's get to the caller quick, and then we'll call Chaz after you get Jay's on the line.
After I get settled down. All right, Jay, you are in the Logan Zone. What you got, man?
Hey, Coach, it's Jay Searles in Greenville. How you doing tonight?
Great.
Good. Hey, just, building on what you were just talking about, Brett McMurphy tweeted out the other day that talked about the worst records versus power conference teams since 2024. There's a list of teams. I mean, you got like Purdue 0-16, Oklahoma State 1-15, Kentucky 1-13, Mississippi State 1-13, Florida State 2-13, Maryland 3-12, Wisconsin 3-13, and so on and so on. Auburn's on there, Stanford, Central Florida, of course Carolina's on there 4-10, but it just kind of highlights the fact that when these teams have to play each other, it's just not. There's no easy wins out there, and I can't help but think. I mean, out of all the teams in the in FBS, and of course, I mean, you got 66 teams that are the have-nots, including East Carolina and all the people we run with. I mean, I know there's a lot of money involved, and everybody thinks that money runs the ship, and we know it does. It makes all these decisions for us. But when you look at everybody's out-of-conference schedule, they're padding their wins by playing us. They're getting. Yeah.
Jay, let me. I appreciate the call, and I'm going to finish. We're running up against a break, but let me just say this to your comments. They're spot on. All right, and I made the comment 2 years ago whenever the Power 4 conference began to reduce the number of East Carolinas that they were going to play, and that was an order from on high, from Greg Sankey, who runs the SEC, and the other guy that runs the Big Ten, and the ACC telling North Carolina State, we don't want you playing East Carolina anymore. Just like this last week, North Carolina State played Georgia Tech, and it was not a conference game. That was an out-of-conference game for both schools, because on orders from above, now, just to your point, now the big boys got to play the big boys all the time, which gets back to my point. For an athletic director at LSU to say, we have to be in the playoffs every year, that guy's smoking crack. It ain't happening. Those days, Nick Saban is not going to win six more national championships at Alabama. Those days are gone. There are new kids on the block. Everybody's eligible. Everybody's got to play everybody now. It's like in the NFL. There's no easy day in the NFL. Call the Green Bay Packers. Ask them how it went with the Panthers last week. Everybody's getting paid. That's what they say in the NFL. Hey, the other team's getting paid too. They're going to play lights out. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We got Matt Chazanow from North Carolina State. They had a very interesting win last weekend, and Oak Date coming up, but some things I want to talk to him about. Get a little inside baseball for the NC State fans. Y'all hang on. We'll be right back.
It's bow time. The Pork Chop Griller is back at Bojangles for a limited time. We know you missed it in all its tender, marinated glory, and how could you not? Because when you take a juicy, mouth-watering pork chop and sandwich it on a flaky, made-from-scratch buttermilk biscuit, it's not a flavor you want to say goodbye to. And don't worry, if it could talk, we're pretty sure it would say, I missed you too. Get to the nearest Bojangles and order yours today. It's bow time.
Hey, Pirate fans, take a trip, consolidate debt, update your home. Whatever you're planning, a personal loan up to $5,000 can help. Coach Logan here from my friends at National Finance Company. With NFC, you can get cash now. Loans up to $5,000, same-day cash, and fixed monthly payments. If you need to borrow money, trust the company that has been helping Carolinians for more than 50 years. National Finance Company. Apply at any of their 24 North Carolina locations or at nfcmoney.com.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
As fall approaches, two things come to mind: football and cooler weather. This is Rachel Davis with Advanced Mechanical Heating and Air. We wanted to thank you for the trust you have put in us this summer. Before you know it, cooler temperatures will arrive, signaling winter is on the way. Don't wait. Prepare now for colder temperatures by scheduling a tune-up. Give us a call today at 252-355-9191 or visit our website, advancedmechnc.com.
Remember the days when you could go to your favorite butcher shop and get your pork chops or steaks cut just the way you like them? Well, you still can. Acre Station Meat Farm on Highway 32 in Pinetown, north of Washington, is Eastern Carolina's traditional butcher shop. Acre Station is where you can get your order cut the way you want it. The best sausage, bacon, and pork chops and steaks you'll ever taste. The short trip to Acre Station is worth the drive.
At Acre Station, you just get that good, friendly service you just can't find anymore.
I guarantee it's the best sausage and bacon you'll ever eat.
Your vehicle packs a load of safety features to protect you in an accident. At North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance, it's our job to protect you just as well after an accident. With fast claim service from local agents, our auto coverage is a lot like an airbag. We hope you never need to use it, but we're right there and ready just in case you do. North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance, helping you is what we do best.
In Greenville, call 252-756-3165. That's 252-756-3165.
Locals know, visitors discover, and everyone's welcome at Caribsea and Emerald Isle. Stop in for the handcrafted cocktails, stay for the live music and rooftop views at the Torpedo Lounge. Caribsea's menu features fresh seafood, hand-cut steaks, and the famous baked crab cakes locals swear by. Caribsea is the only spot on the island taking reservations with plenty of space for your crew. CaribseaRestaurant.com. For date night, family dinner, or a relaxed evening with friends, it's Caribsea and Emerald Isle.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Welcome back in. Week 11 of the Logan Zone here on 94.3 and Talk 96.3. We do want to thank our title sponsors once again, Bojangles, Bill Clark Homes, and Greenville Utilities. We're going to take a deeper dive into what is going on in the Triangle and specifically at NC State next as we welcome in Matt Chasnow. So at this point, I'm going to toss it back over to Coach Logan and to Chaz.
All right, back in the Logan Zone we go. And Chaz, what in the wide world of sports is going on over in Raleigh, man?
Coach, we had a heck of a 72 hours from Saturday to Monday between a win over undefeated Georgia Tech and Carter Finley and a field storming and a heck of an opening at the Will Wade era tip-off against NC Central with a 114-66 final. So we've had quite a bit going on here in the red and white part of the Triangle. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, I know that it's kind of been a little bit of blood to a vampire. I know you guys have been going through a dry spell, but I'm going to just make a little commentary here, Chaz, and I'm going to throw it to you. I watched, there's a lot of talk about the Dave Doran journey and all of the, let's be honest, there's a section of the fan base that wants to make a change for whatever reasons they want to justify. But I'm watching this from 30,000 feet, and I was talking to an NC State guy before the Georgia Tech game, and I said, I'll give you the name when we get off the air. You can call him and just get testimony that I'm telling you the truth. I said to this guy, this is going to be the most Dave Doran thing ever. They're going to win this football game, okay? They're going to beat Georgia Tech. And, of course, they did. And but here's the thing I really want to comment on, and I'm going to throw it to you. I watched the NC State game against Georgia Tech, and I saw, maybe just in that game, maybe moving forward for the rest of the season, I saw Dave Dorn embrace who his football team really is. And it reminded me of the Steve Logan teams that I had down through the years that mainly were comprised of a really good quarterback, a good enough offensive line, and skilled kids, coupled with a defense that was always at risk. And you know what? If that's what you got, let's play to it, and let's go see if we can score 40 points and hold them to 39, because that's really who we are. Now, that's hard for a defensive head coach to say that and embrace that. That's who Dave is. I know that. And from my journey, I was an offensive coach, and I was more comfortable with that. I guess being more realistic to a degree. But what I saw last weekend was exactly the way North Carolina State should behave the rest of the season. And that's it. I'm going to throw it to you, and you got it. Whatever you want to comment on that.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm not really comfortable in any football realm pushing back on Coach Logan. Let me be clear about that. So what I do think is you had the ACC's leading rusher out, and you had a Georgia Tech defense that statistically showed it had been susceptible to giving up a lot of yards, and especially on the ground, right? And I thought the NC State offensive line had its best game of the year, and I thought C.J. Bailey had the best game of his career over the last two seasons. And so, to your point, if that's in the tank, right? If you can open it up like that and put the pedal down and just go, and basically, to some degree, disregard some things like time of possession or ball control or whatever, and just go for chunk plays, just go big, and why not, right? And I think to some degree they've tried to do that earlier this year, and for various reasons it didn't happen. And one of the things that it made me think of is, they came into that ball game a 500 team. They had 4 wins and 4 losses, right, Coach? And so,
right,
kind of made me go back and think, well, all right, you got the really nice win over Virginia. Now that win looks really good, and a close win over the Pirates, right? That came down to the last 4th down stop of the game there, that 1 yard 4th and 1 stop there on the by Jamel Johnson. And so it kind of makes you think about the Virginia Tech game and the Duke games as you go, man, if even one of those two, especially the Hokie game because it was home, but those 2 ball games were very winnable. Coach Doran left those games thinking that, without trying to discredit the Blue Devils and Hokies, that those were 2 games that the Pat kind of gave away to some degree.
Right.
And so, I think, you have a 5-4 team that, like you were alluding to, right, there are imperfections in this ball club. But it would be maybe a recipe for these final 3 games to say, hey, you got Bailey, you got a whole buffet of options at receiver, even with Justin Jolie out, even with Hollywood Smothers out. The scheme caters to fresh legs and next man up, and it worked. It worked against an 8th-ranked undefeated team. Their defense had been the issue this year. Their road games had been the issue this year, and the Pack took advantage of that. And credit to them. And, that's as good as C.J. Bailey's played. That's as good as any quarterback's going to play, 340 yards and 3 touchdowns in various ways. I mean, the offense was great. And a huge credit to Duke Scott, who busts out on the scene at a national level for a freshman. It was really special.
Well, as you were commenting, and you're right, I've seen flashes of an attempt to behave like it is you and I are talking about, which is being aggressive. I've seen flashes of it, but I've also, when I was watching some of those moments, if there was any kind of a hiccup, an interception or a fumble or something like that, it's almost like, North Carolina State would pull their reins in and get a little bit more cautious. And, again, just having had the laboratory that I had, which was, like I said, kind of the makeup of the North Carolina State team is today, having an extended laboratory of that animal, when we made a mistake, it just infuriated me, and I would push harder on the accelerator. Because you see what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying is that, there were some scary moments in the Georgia Tech game, but I never felt like Coach Dorn or whoever or whatever was going to, pull the reins in and back off, and now all of a sudden we're going to get beat on the last drive of the game and all that other monkey business. You want to be you want to have the football the last drive of the game. You don't want it to get to that, and the only way to do that is to continue to just attack, and again, that's just what I saw in this last football game. And you look ahead now, you guys got an open date, true?
That's right. Yeah, off this week, and then at Miami, home for Florida State on a Friday, and then home for the Tar Heels.
Well, see, this Miami game in particular, and the Florida State game, but the Miami game, I pulled the numbers up on Miami, and right now North Carolina State's knocking down 32 points a game. Well, that's what Miami's doing, and of course we've Captain Obvious here. The North Carolina State defense struggles. They just do. They're lined up well. They play hard. Coach Dorn knows what he's doing, but they just can't make a play. They're not good enough up front. They're just not. And I can say that because I'm not in your position. But, they're giving up 30 points a game. Well, Miami's giving up 15 points a game. But all season long, I've not been sold on Miami. I think they're good, but I don't think that again, I'm used to the Miami of old. I see a lot of cracks in the Miami, presentation. North Carolina State's knocking down 41% on third down conversions. Miami's at 46. Here again is the rub. North Carolina State's defense giving up 44% on third downs, and Miami's sitting there at 28%. That's going to be the deal. But I'm just saying that I'm talking about 40 things at once here, but let me just say this too. When I had that football team that Dave has right now, and I had many of them that were built exactly like that, once we did, and this is a Loganism, I'd say this in team meetings all the time, you can't do it until you do it. I wish I had a magic pill to give you, to make you do all these things we're talking about, which is throwing for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. I wish I had a pill, but until you do it, we can't do it. But once you do achieve it, now, and there's a collective knowledge that comes into place with the teams I had. It was kind of like, oh, this is what crazy Logan's been talking about. You can come out of the tunnel in a 2-minute drill and just light your hair on fire and go for it. Just keep going for it, okay? And I just wonder, and I'm anxiously awaiting the next, the Miami football game to see if North Carolina State, they've done it. They know what it feels like now against an undefeated Georgia Tech football team. Now,
I think you're kind of talking.
Let's go see what happens.
I think in some way you're referencing teams that may be good enough to win versus teams that really know how to win and have felt it and know what it takes to actually win.
Right.
And and there are teams that seem to have a lot of talent and feel good on paper and even practice well and say the right things and then do the right things and then go out in the game and kind of inexplicably don't perform as you think they might. And once you get the validation of the result, there may be something to that. Like now that they've felt that offense perform that way without your top 2 skill position players and Smothers and Joe Lee, maybe they can duplicate that for these final 3 games. I'm into that theory. I think the other common thread from the losses from Notre Dame and Duke especially and Pittsburgh, maybe less so Virginia Tech, maybe more the other 3 of the 4 losses, is those teams were really effective at speeding the pocket up. And C.J. Bailey was off in South Bend and kind of just had an off day. And road game, good team, that happens sometimes to the best of the best. It's just part of the deal. But against Pittsburgh and Duke, those are two teams that are constantly pressuring the pocket defensively. And I thought the offensive line this past game for NC State gave C.J. Bailey a ton of time, some really good, clean windows to pass through. And he was sharp at the start, and he got that confidence and validation, and it really took off from there. And he threw beautiful balls. And even his off-schedule throws, he was finding guys wide open downfield and was really aware of what was going on 20, 30, 40 yards downfield. And that wasn't the case against Pittsburgh. It wasn't the case against Duke. He was very busy in the pocket. It was very muddy. So that might be something to watch for with Miami, and then in the rest of the season is like if the offensive line performs like they did, and it's been a carousel at guard. I mean, there are 4 to 6 guys that have played left and right guard this year for the Pack. The tackles in the center have been very steady, but the guard positions on both sides, and that's hard. It's hard to, defensively, it takes a lot of injuries for Coach Doran to address injuries, and they've had a ton in the secondary, specifically the safeties and the nickel spots. They've lost so many guys. Puts a lot of pressure on a lot of redshirt freshmen. And actually, last game, a true freshman, Tristan Teasdale, got a start at safety, and he's going to be a really nice player, and they're excited about him. But I don't know if they expected him to be starting in ACC play in his true freshman year.
Let me just say this about what
you've been part of the equation.
Let me say this about what you were talking about with the protection end of things, and this is the coach in me. Yes, they protected him well at Georgia Tech. Yes, Miami is going to have a much stronger push. But, that is a manageable problem, all right, from this standpoint. And this is one of my criticisms of 21st century college football. The National Football League, where I spent the last part of my life in professional football, the number one singular subject all week long in the offensive staff room, it wasn't pass routes, it wasn't passing, it wasn't running, it was from Sunday night until the next Sunday afternoon kickoff, it was how do we protect our passer? So here's your menu. You can protect with 5, 6, or 7. The college game, and North Carolina State's been, I'm being critical here, okay? But I'm being critical really of almost all Saturday afternoon college football. They operate with 6-man protections only, over and over and over. And any defensive coordinator worth his salt knows how to attack and break down a 6-man protection scheme. But the fact that they're not using a 7-man protection enough and at various times to make it a guessing game for the defensive coordinator about when and how to blitz is my biggest complaint about what I see in college football today for the offensive coordinators of today that are a generation younger than I am. And if you turn on an NFL football game, you don't see free runners into the backfield. You just don't see it. At the college game, you see it time and time, and I'm going to pat myself on. You didn't see that. My football team, we didn't have free runners in the backfield. And I coached against Julius Peppers, all right? I coached against the kid at Syracuse that played forever in the NFL. I mean, I got a laundry list of guys that I had specific problems with an undermanned offensive line. But I promise you, when we went into the game, Julius Peppers, I had a tight end chip him, a running back chip him, and an offensive tackle. I mean, by the time the ball was thrown, Julius Peppers has been hit 19 ways from Sunday. He had exactly one pressure against my offense the day that we played him. One. And, you're getting my blood pressure up here, as you can tell. So I'm just telling you that, that problem is manageable from an X and O coaching standpoint when you don't have the personnel necessarily that you would desire. There are ways to handle that, and I want to see something like that happen at Miami.
Yeah, you're talking about Dwight Freeney, I think, for the Colts.
Dwight Freeney. See, he still got me scarred.
Yeah, I mean, he's an all-timer. He's an all-time great. And he torched most teams. And really, if you could stop him or like Peppers or whoever, then you got something. I mean, I look, if you're breaking up the pocket in college, if you're nullifying that time after snap, you got a great shot to win the game. A great quarterback can combat that, and C.J. Bailey's done that. Frankly, Kyle McCord did that last year against the Pack in Carter Finley, just coincidentally for Syracuse. That was a ball game where they sped McCord up, and he actually got hit and made a bunch of throws anyway with guys right in his face. He was great last year. But that's a huge deal, and I think that may have been a big part of the win over Georgia Tech was their inability to develop a pass rush. They had shown that statistically all year, and they definitely got away with one at Wake Forest. They should have lost that game. And then
no doubt about it. But
they
Chaz,
got away with one at Boulder to start the year.
We're running up against a break, a hard break here, and I really appreciate you coming on. And I'm with great interest. I'm going to watch 2 weeks from now to see which way the worm is going to turn at North Carolina State and the Dave Dorn journey. And I'm rooting for the Pack. I'm rooting for Dave Dorn. I got a lot of respect for him, and I hope you guys have a good outing 2 weeks from now. Okay.
Love it. Thank you, Coach. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you. Great to talk to you.
All right. There he is, Matt Chasnow, play-by-play for the North Carolina State Wolfpack. Great victory last week, beat number 8 team in the country. That's hard to do, man. All right, we're going to take a little break here. We will take a phone call coming back, 252-561-4263. Give me a call. We'll be right back.
The stifling heat of summer, the bitter cold of winter. What do they have in common? The extreme temperatures of both force your home's heating and cooling system to work overtime to keep you comfortable, and that can cost you a lot of money. Fortunately, your neighbors at Greenville Utilities have several ways you can save energy, and that means saving you money on your utility bills. Just go to GUC.com and look for ways to save. That's GUC.com.
At CCS Equipment Sales, we're proud to be your one-stop certified Takeuchi construction equipment dealer. Our knowledgeable staff is dedicated to building lasting relationships by providing solutions to your needs for new or used equipment, rentals, parts, and service. Our inventory includes Takeuchi excavators, track loaders, wheel loaders, along with a wide range of attachment options in Ayden, Angier, or Youngsville, or check us out online at ccsequipment.com. And remember, at CCS Equipment, we believe we succeed when you succeed.
Finding that missing shin guard, remembering whether it's a home or away game, getting the right kid to the right playing field on the right day. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. We work with independent agents who keep insurance simple so you can worry about more important things, like not being that fan.
Oh, come on, Raf!
That's simple human sense.
Call Weatherly Insurance Agency at 756-9900 or online at weatherlyinsurance.com.
At Parker's Barbecue, our family has been serving your family for 3 generations.
For that, we say thank you.
Blessing families every Thursday. Kids eat free all day. That's the Parker's way.
Legendary food served from our 3 locations. Always quick, always delicious. That's the Parker's way.
At Parker's, our mission is to impact our customers through Christ-like service in a way that feeds them both physically and spiritually. That is the Parker's way.
If you're concerned about your home security in Wilson and Rocky Mount or any part of eastern North Carolina, High-Tech Communications has merged with SCI Technologies. This collaboration brings a variety of products and services that do more than keep your home or business safe. They differentiate themselves through their service and commitment to providing you the most reliable and cost-effective system for your individual location. Security systems can be installed for as little as $99. Google SCI Technologies for security, life safety, and home automation. It's SCI Technologies.
Capital Subaru of Greenville invites you to fall into savings this November. As Pirate football rolls down the stretch, Capital Subaru of Greenville now has new 2025 Outback models with 0.9% APR for 72 months. That's 6 years of 0.9% financing on your new Outback. Whether it's the new Outback, Crosstrek, or any other new Subaru, you'll always enjoy the best sales experience and service. Capital Subaru of Greenville on Memorial Drive, a proud official partner of the ECU Pirates.
Your roof has seen its better days. During a really hard rain, you get a leak. Call a roofing contractor, and before they look at it, they say you need a new roof. Well, maybe you do, or maybe it can be repaired and last for a few more years. Whichever the case, Langley Roofing will give you an honest assessment. Whether it's commercial or residential, Langley Contracting will get the job done with their own employees. That's why you get a 25-year warranty. Easy number to remember, 252-214-ROOF. That's 214-ROOF. Langley Contracting, 214-ROOF.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Welcome back into the Logan Zone. Final drive here in Week 11 of the Logan Zone. We will be taking your calls for the next 5 minutes or so. If you do want to call us at 252-561-4263. One last time, we do want to thank Bojangles, Bill Clark Homes, and Greenville Utilities. Now, we're going to toss it back over to Coach Logan.
All right, here we are, headed back in. Got one little final stretch run here. I've got every week I wake up and have my coffee and start prowling the internet for things that I think would be of interest for this little show. And so, Philip, you're aware of every year around this time when people start talking about who's going to be in the playoffs and who isn't, there's people that are convinced there's such a thing called SEC bias, right? You're aware of that, true?
Yep.
People saying, the SEC is getting too much credit, and other people saying that, you'd have to be in the SEC to understand it, so on and so forth. And I've worked in the SEC. I know that it's been 20 whatever years ago it was, but I know that I worked in the old Big 8 conference at Oklahoma State. And when I was at the University of Tulsa, we played a lot of Big 8 conference, which is now the Big 12. Okay, Colorado, Kansas State. I've played against all of those programs, and it's been years ago. I understand that. And they were what they were. They were hard to beat. All of those teams were hard to beat when I was at Oklahoma State or when I was at the University of Tulsa playing those what are now the Big 12 schools. And then my journey took me to Mississippi State. From Colorado, I went to Mississippi State and coached 2 years in the SEC. And then I left the SEC and came to East Carolina. And, of course, we ran up and down the East Coast playing all what back then were the Big East schools. But certainly we played ACC and SEC football teams then. And then I went to Boston College and got immersed in the ACC football conference. The point I'm making about that is when people start saying, oh, the SEC's, they're not as tough or as good as they think they are. Well, here's the thing that I'm sitting looking at right now. So far this year, and our previous caller touched on this, how the big boys got to play the big boys now. I mean, the days of playing 7 conference football games and then playing Campbell 4 times and end up with 8 or 9 victories, those days are fast coming to a close. You got to play the big boys, got to play the big boys now. Well, this year so far, the SEC is 10-4 for a win rate of 71% outside of their conference. So what I'm saying is if an SEC football team this year, so far, the SEC's played 14 games out of conference. And regardless of who they are, you can go down to the weeds as far as you want to go. The SEC's 10-4 for a win rate of 71%. Next is the Big 12. They've played 14 football games out of conference. They have a record of 8-6 for a win rate of 57%. Next is the Big 10. The Big 10 has played 12 games out of conference for a record of 5 wins and 7 losses for a 41% win rate. The ACC has played 18 out-of-conference games this year. The ACC's played 18 games against other Power 4 conferences. Their record is 5 wins and 13 losses for a win rate of 27%. And so, you know, the numbers are what the numbers are, and I'm famous for the Mark Twain quote, you know, there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. You can make of it what you wish and build your case however you want to make it. But when people have asked me about this, and I've got a little bit more, some more numbers here that I'm going to throw these numbers at you to chew on. And this has to do with how the Big Four, the Power Four conferences, are spending their money, how they're allocating their money in this revenue sharing era. Where are you putting your money? Okay. In the ACC, for instance, let's talk about quarterback. The ACC is spending 20% of their money at the quarterback position. The SEC is spending 15% of their money on the quarterback. That's kind of interesting. But here's where it really hits me, and this is, you know, what I remember about coaching in the SEC. They'd say, Steve, what's the biggest difference? The SEC is spending about 18% of their money on the defensive line. The next closest to that is the ACC spending about 14% of their money on the defensive line. The Big Ten is spending 11% of their money, and the Big 12 is spending about 10% of their money on the defensive line. The point I'm making is the SEC, the thing that knocks your socks off when you coach in that conference, and I'm speaking from an offensive point of view, all right? When you turn on a Sunday afternoon tape, okay, in the life of a coach, you come in and Sunday morning you grade your previous tape, you go out and you have a little practice, get the soreness out of the kids, and then you send them home. And so all Sunday afternoon and Sunday night, what are you doing? You're looking at your next opponent. And I can just tell you that in the SEC, the 2 years I spent at Mississippi State, I would come in on those Sunday afternoons and I'd pull out the next film, and let's say it was Alabama. My God, there were 4 NFL football players that had their hand in the dirt on the defensive line for Alabama. Well, we'd play that football game, and I'd come in, do my work, we'd play the game. Sunday afternoon, on next Sunday, I'd come in and pull out the next tape, and it would be Georgia. Oh, my God. 4 more defensive linemen that probably have a chance to play in the NFL. And the next week, I could go right down the list. Auburn. Guarantee you there's 4 guys with their hand in the dirt on the defensive front that are going to play in the NFL or have a chance to. Tennessee. Yep, same thing. Ole Miss. Yep, same thing. And down the list you go in the SEC. And so this SEC bias thing is what I'm speaking to, and that's really the rub. That's really where the difference is. And the 2 years I spent at Boston College, I could pull out the next tape. At Boston College, I'd pull out a tape of who we're playing next week, University of North Carolina. Yeah, they got one. They got one we got to pay attention to. They didn't have 4. And we would play the University of North Carolina, win or lose, whatever, and I'd pull out the North Carolina State film. They got 1. The rest of them we can handle. And after the North Carolina State game, we would pull out the Wake Forest, and they would have none. And then I'd pull out the Florida State film. They would have 2. And this is back in the early 2000s. They'd have 2, maybe 3. Okay? But it was never a sense of being overwhelmed. That was every single Sunday for 2 straight years in the SEC. It didn't matter what film you pulled out, who you were preparing for. And that included us as well at Mississippi State. You know, we were putting players in the NFL on our defensive front as well. And so what I'm speaking to is this, we're getting into this thing where people start pointing fingers and saying, well, the SEC, they're bragging as usual, and they're saying they're this and they're saying they're that, and what about this and what about that? So far this year, the SEC has got a 71% win rate when it's Power 4, versus Power 4. And they're the best by 20%. They're the best of the Power 4 leagues going right now. So it's just interesting to watch all this play out. Now, this is the time of year, it's November, so this is the time of year where the SEC is going to beat itself up again, and this will bring out the I told you so. I told you they weren't as good. When in fact, what I'm telling you and what I'm trying to point out for the fans is that when people say the SEC is different, what they're not clarifying for you when they make that statement is what I'm trying to clarify for you right now. What they're talking about is the defensive fronts. The defensive fronts in the SEC are different. They're better. They always have been. And so far, they still are better. They're better. They're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, and they have more of them. So there's my little Logan Zone comment on comparing conferences to conferences. All right. Folks, that wraps up another show. Pilk, appreciate you taking care of me and guiding me through all the chaos and catastrophes through each of these shows.
Yeah, man, it was fun, Coach.
We will be back next Thursday and do another round of the Logan Zone. Thanks for listening in. See y'all later.
Have you been to Jaggers on Memorial Drive yet? I'm a regular at Jaggers, and let me tell you, if you want fresh, not frozen, you need to come to Jaggers. Burgers, chicken.